in the ancient Igbo town of Umunneora, a land known for peace, justice, and unity. The death of the wise and beloved King Ojiego left a void in the hearts of the people. The Council of Elders, after many debates and rituals, crowned his first son, Prince Ojiego, as the new Igwe. At first, the people danced. They slaughtered goats, poured palm wine, and sang praises to the gods for giving them a strong and educated king. Ojiego had studied in the white man's land. He spoke English like the missionaries, dressed in fine robes, and promised to bring development to the town. But behind that charming smile was a heart of pride, greed, and stone. It began slowly. Ojiego doubled the taxes on every palm wine seller, farmer, and hunter. If a man killed an antelope and didn't offer the king a piece, he would be fined. If a woman fetched water without bowing to the palace guards, she would be beaten in the village square. He sold communal lands to outsiders without the villagers' consent. Sacred forests where ancestors once prayed were turned into private estates. The gods were angry, but Ojiego laughed, saying, "This is modern civilization." He surrounded himself with corrupt friends and heartless warriors. They took virgins from homes, seized farmlands, and mocked the cries of poor widows. Even the elders who once advised his father were forced into silence or exile. The once happy town of Umunneora turned into a land of tears and broken spirits. One night, as the moon lit the sky, Queen Mother Nena, Ojiego's mother, knelt before him. "My son," she said, "you are not ruling the way your father did. The land cries, and the ancestors are restless. Bring back peace before it is too late." Ojiego rose from his ivory seat and shouted, "You are old. Sit in your hut and chew cola. I am the king now." Tears rolled down her cheeks as she walked out of the palace. That night, she went to the shrine and poured libation with bitter cola, begging the gods to have mercy. But the gods had heard too much already. Strange things started happening. The king's only son, Prince Obinna, fell ill, his voice lost, eyes turned pale. The palace doctors could not help him. The shrine priest said, "The gods are punishing the king through his son." But instead of humbling himself, Ojiego accused the priest of witchcraft and had him buried alive. From that day, the land became cursed. No rain for months. Rivers dried. Children died in their sleep. Women miscarried. Men ran mad. Still, the king hardened his heart like a rock in the sun. One morning, the people of Umunneora woke up with fire in their bones. Young and old, men and women, marched to the palace with songs of sorrow and war. "Igwe Ojiego, our pain has reached heaven. You must leave the throne." Ojiego's guards tried to stop them, but the people were like thunder. They pushed down palace gates and stormed inside. The king ran to the shrine, begging the gods for forgiveness. But the gods had closed their ears. His son died that same night. His wife went blind. And Ojiego, once feared and mighty, disappeared into the evil forest. Some say he was swallowed by the spirits. Others say he still roams, crying in the wind like a lost soul. Years passed. A humble farmer named Obinna, chosen by the gods and backed by the people, became king. He ruled with wisdom, listening to the cries of the poor and the counsel of the elders. The rains returned. Harvests grew. Children laughed again. But the story of King Ojiego, the ruler who led with pride and wickedness, was passed from generation to generation as a warning. No matter how powerful a man is, if he forgets the people and offends the gods, he will fall like a tree without roots. Though peace slowly returned to Umunneora, the throne was never the same. The palace, once filled with pride and gold, still echoed with the cries of those who had been flogged, shamed, or buried unjustly. Some villagers refused to go near it. Others still had nightmares of Ojiego's laughter during their suffering. King Obinna, though humble and loved, carried a burden heavier than the royal staff. Every morning, he walked barefoot around the village before sunrise, greeting elders, touching the hands of widows, and sitting with children under mango trees. He listened. He cried with them. And slowly, the people began to trust again. But one day, while renovating the palace's back chambers, the workers uncovered something horrifying. A hidden room filled with the bones of people who had gone missing under King Ojiego's rule. The news broke the hearts of the town again. Obinna wept openly. A 7-day mourning was declared. Drums were silenced. Fires were lit at the village square. Families came forward, recognizing pieces of cloth or ornaments among the remains. That night, Obinna climbed to the shrine and cried, "Ancestors, what more must we do to cleanse this land?" The wind that blew through the sacred forest whispered, "Justice is not complete." A month later, strange things began to happen again, this time at Idemili River, the sacred water source that ran through Umunneora. Women who fetched water before sunrise reported hearing cries from the riverbed. Fishermen saw shadows moving beneath the surface. And more than once, the river turned muddy red, like blood. The chief priest, now an old blind man named Dibia Yawakwi, was summoned. He arrived on a wooden staff carved with ancient symbols. The villagers gathered as he dipped a kola nut into the red water, murmuring sacred words. "This river remembers," he said, "and it is angry." Ojiego had once defiled the river by dumping bodies of rebels into it in secret, bribing guards to keep it quiet. The land had absorbed their pain, and now it sought closure. To appease the river, the people held a festival of cleansing. Songs were sung. A white ram was sacrificed. The bones of the lost were buried. With dignity, prayers were said at midnight. The Queen Mother, now frail and close to the spirit world, was carried to the riverbank. She knelt and cried, "Forgive my son. Forgive our land." The river turned clear again for the first time in years. But the story didn't end there. One stormy night, a young boy named Nwachanemalu ran into the square, pale and shaking. "I saw him," he cried. "The king, Ojiego, in the forest. He called my name." The elders dismissed him as a child with wild dreams, until others began to report similar sightings. Traders passing near the evil forest claimed they saw a man, still in royal garments, sitting under the forbidden Irako tree, whispering names into the wind. The priests knew what it meant. Ojiego's spirit was restless, caught between the land of the living and the dead. He had not been buried properly. His sins were not confessed. His soul wandered, tormenting the weak-minded and entering their dreams. A special ritual was arranged to summon and bind him. At midnight, 7 dibias circled a sacred fire. Cowries rattled. Blood dripped onto ancient stones. They called his name, and the wind screamed. The fire turned blue. Then, silence. A shadow stepped forward. It was him, King Ojiego, no longer handsome, but a hollow figure with bleeding eyes and a twisted crown. "I was wrong," his voice trembled, but the gods had already judged him. He was dragged by unseen spirits into the earth, wailing. The flames vanished. The dibias collapsed in exhaustion. Peace returned, and this time it stayed. Years later, Obinna ruled as the longest reigning king in Umunneora's history. Under his leadership, the roads were rebuilt with the help of the youth. The palace opened a school and a healing center. The palace opened a school and a healing center. No widow ever went hungry. No child was punished without reason. A justice sat beside mercy. When Obinna died at a ripe age, the entire village wore white, not black. He was not mourned with sorrow, but with celebration, because he had healed the wounds of the land. But the throne of Umunneora was no longer just a seat of power. It was a sacred seat, washed with the blood, pain, and tears of the people. And every king after Obinna was made to kneel on the red earth and repeat, "I serve the people, not myself. If I forget, may the land remind me."